Welcome.
Bienvenidos, bienvenidas.
Willkommen.
Ahla wa sahla to breakfast together.
Good morning, everybody.
Καλημέρα.
Добрый день.
Sabah al-khair.
Yet another Sunday.
Yay.
Kalimera, kalimera.
Kalimera, kalimera. Ta, 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 ta.
It's funny because sometimes we're choosing which language should I say?
Yeah.
Esatto.
But
And then
when
we're thinking, and then we say it at the same time.
but the Kalimera thing reminded me of that funny reel with the Greek weather woman who said that.
I love it. I love that reel. If you, dear listeners, haven't seen it, you should go. And they often present it like the weather in, I don't know, Germany or England. And then oh well, it's like rain and it's like snow or something, and then in Greece and like Kalimera, and she's so happy and jumping and
We're just
really
happy
like
people. We're just happy people.
exactly happy Greeks.
If we have a Freddo in the hand, yes.
We are very happy as well because we are going to continue our great discussion on top resources in language learning. Last time we spoke about courses and some books and whether we use courses or not. And today
It's been a while, right? Like last time that we record.
It's been a while. We hope
Feels
you
like
enjoyed
forever,
listening
right?
about this.
I don't know. I don't remember. What did we talk about?
Oh, come on.
courses? Are you
Anki took
sure?
like half an episode.
Asia is saying it. Come on, aren't you paying
Right.
attention?
So I remember that the last thing that we mentioned was the books that we use, and I mean everybody's
Yeah.
like a book lover here, so I think we can make like a part 3 as well if we start talking about that.
And then a part
Because
4
one
about
thing is
food.
books, yeah, but one thing is books, but then finally we're talking about languages. This is what people are here to listen to. One thing is books, and another thing is language books for learning languages. This is like a special, like passion, and I'm sure guilty as charged. Who of us hasn't bought a course and then that they never opened, but they were kind of excited there and then, so they were like, oh, beginners Korean, Wolof, maybe I will go to Senegal, like who knows.
I never did that
Yeah.
actually, Rena. I've always read I don't know, 2 books I have bought for that. I've read them all to the end. No, because
I knew.
one
Your
of them
nickname is philosopher, so of course you did read them all.
No, I'm not such an avid book reader, but no, because usually I take courses like in with a teacher and everything. So usually the books are part of the curriculum for that. So usually that's why they get finished. And I actually like this like old school method with the courses because I mean it's maybe it's not the most efficient method, and the more you learn languages, the more you notice things that are kind of inefficient in the teaching process. But I have to say that for me, the motivation is one of the biggest factors when you learn a language. And I think that if you have a good teacher and you're learning with a good cohort of students, and you're having fun, you're like you go there, you see your friends, like you have fun with your teacher. So I really think that for me, it outweighs the like any inefficiencies
Yeah.
about the method itself.
So if you had to choose like from like learning in a school environment or like a language school course and in a self-pace, you will choose the language course, Tlemache?
Definitely, yeah. At least like maybe not like for the very beginning, like A1, A2. I mean, you can learn a lot solo, and you can't talk that much with anybody anyway. But I'm also like very social. I like meeting people. I like getting to know people. So I talk a lot. If I don't know if you know these guys, but I talk a lot.
I wouldn't say so.
Got you in the middle, don't worry.
You hear 1% of what he's actually saying. The rest
we need
is
our
just talk.
airtime too.
Yes.
Exactly. I'm sorry. It's Dimia did most of what I say. It's
Yes,
too
yeah,
much.
yeah.
No, but just kidding. But yeah, so I really enjoy it. But you have to like have a good class and a good teacher, of course. It's a bit of a hit or miss, I guess.
I actually absolutely agree.
As a former teacher, Absolutely agree. Yeah.
Like we have two teachers here. We have Asia and Irena, like that used to
Yeah.
be
It
teaching.
all depends on the teacher, and sometimes it's not even about whether the teacher is good or not. It's just sometimes the suitable, I would even say, teaching personality, if I can put it that way. Because no matter how
Mm,
much you're trying to be, diverse as a teacher, you do have your certain style, most probably, and that style may
yeah.
not be suitable for everyone. But I can definitely agree, because I last time had the course that I finished from the beginning to the end, and I couldn't get enough, actually. And that was exactly like you,
Wow.
Mahos, are saying. I was live among new people in a new country. I was not in a new country for me, but in general, not in the country where I usually live. I was in Italy, in Palermo, living for 2 months and going all the way for 2 months to different courses. And I finished
Mm,
two different schools, and it was absolutely fantastic opportunity. In 2 months, my Italian has improved significantly, and the teachers I
wow.
got were really, really. I got lucky, I think, as well, because I got really great
Mm,
teacher. I was continuing later on online. Well, once I left Palermo, but I definitely agree. If you have a great group, being social, having conversations, practicing with the eye of a professional can really, really pump your ability to actually communicate. And while I really enjoy learning on my own, being immersed in the culture and so on, I feel like you can really accelerate your level while learning in a group like this, and when the teacher
It's a
is
shame you
around.
lost your Italian though, Asia. You sounded so
Non
happy
dimenticato
about
tutto,
learning
non ti
it.
preoccupare, non è molto male.
no, 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 ma lei lo
No, non
sa,
è
lo sa.
molto male. But yes, there is la guerra, there is a war continuing, but don't worry, guys, we're on the winning battle.
um, my take on that is I think I met people that they really like to like self learning. That I also figure out that that works also really well for me. But I get also the idea of having like a class where you can speak, and I normally do that with some live classes, either some applications online. I don't want to mention the names now, where you do like classes with 5 or 6 people, or online 1 over 1, and that's the one that really helps me to improve with speaking before I start like trying to speak to native people outside, let's say the bubble. But I feel like it's mostly for people that like classes work really well for people that they don't have so much motivation, so they try to push themselves to go and like be in a place where they can be focused, and they cannot be
Hmm.
focused and like on their computer or like on their books or whatever. But I get also the point of doing that after you reaching like a A2 B1 level, where you can start like speaking the language and start like communicating. So I'm also like somewhere in between. I like the studying myself, but I also I can see the benefit of being in a class and under somebody that can help you improve your pronunciation, your grammar mistakes, like to correct your grammar mistakes or whatever.
We're all
Exactly.
for the
I
diversity.
think it's especially like I think it's good after, for example, like already A2 level, and I think it's like really good until beginning of C1 maybe. So I do think that if you want to actually perfect some things and also perfect the accent, or if you're getting into more advanced levels, where you read literature or whatever, I think it's a lot better then to be more on your own, because then you can actually focus on what you want to learn or improving on your own pace, or you don't want to be held back maybe if the others are not so motivated. So I think it's good for like the middle levels of learning a language, but I think especially beginning and end are definitely better if you do it alone and you can customize a lot of things um, about that.
I completely agree with both of you. For me, the classes, I mean, yes, I used to, first of all, teach a lot of classes myself, and it's also a learning process, like when you start teaching as a learner. Like you kind of flip the perspective. It's very interesting, I have to say. And also when you receive the feedback and people tell you, this was cool, this was not so good. And as Asa said, depends on the personality of your teacher. This is crucial. This is very important, and that it matches with you. Sometimes the resources that they use for teaching in the school is bad, but the teacher can make the most out of it. It's very, very
Exactly.
important.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I get a lot of compliments on my Serbian. Maybe many people don't know, but I used to learn Serbian. Learned Serbian in 3 months, so I became fluent in 3 months. I came to Serbia
Wow.
in March, and I passed the B2 exam in June. And I studied Serbian at the University of Belgrade. So shout out to the
Impressive.
philological. Thank you, hvala, to the philological faculty. And back then, which is I don't know, help me, I'm bad with math. I was 18 years old. Now I'm 35. So
17 years, yeah.
the resources, yeah,
$2008 around.
imagine.
Yeah.
This is like Middle Ages. This is like in a different century, actually. But this was my first kind of experience like this, going to university, doing this is a sort of like short summer course. And back then the resources for Serbian were very scarce, like there were not that many books.
Limited.
There are still not
Yeah.
that many, but limited. But back then even worse, but it was, as you said, I had like fun group, and we did a lot of excursions. Like we went to different parts of Serbia and to different museums. I had so much fun. I was learning and practicing with all those foreigners. That was like a very good course. And then sometimes I like taking private lessons with teachers, either for teaching or conversation practice. And this is something I'm gonna say, something that actually I think no one knows. At some point before going to Turkey and Cyprus on a holiday, I was learning Greek and Turkish at the same time. And in Greek, I had a very good teacher. We didn't study for that much, but I was enjoying it. For Turkish, I took one lesson, and the teacher was so bad. And I got so unmotivated that I dropped out and kind of lost all my motivation.
Well,
So,
a lot of
one
Shame.
of the
believers.
languages, yeah. Uh, I whatever you said, I agree.
Remember, she dropped
So
out.
yeah, so one of the few languages that I started and like dropped out, so to say, is actually Turkish. Well, and Greek as well, but Greek due to the lack of time. I actually, back then when I went to Cyprus, I did learn some decent Greek, and as our dear hosts, co-hosts know, that I know how to read and write in Greek. So yeah,
Indeed.
at least that.
Asia, you mentioned something before, and also Irena in the previous episode, that you normally like find like a resource and then you jump to another one. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and like why?
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm a great example of how I literally, maybe not super proud of this as of now, because I do not have my set on stone method. I'm constantly trying new things, constantly trying new areas of languages, and constantly trying to see what works for me. I'm a very spontaneous person when it comes to language. I don't really have any particular need to learn in a new language in the sense of work or anything like this, but I do it for pleasure. So whatever clicks for a particular moment, I go there. And the resources can be very, very various. Like I've been hyping Duolingo for quite a while, actually exactly 3 years. But after
Boo.
after the last polyglot gathering, I killed Duolingo. I'm not there anymore. I don't have it anymore. I do think it can be useful at some point, but
Yay!
I've been using it for 3 years, and I've tried different languages from Esperanto, Czech to Japanese, Italian, obviously Spanish. I tried many different languages, but I
You have to
found
kill
that
Duo
it's
before he kills you.
I did kill it. I did kill it. I still
Yeah.
have this app, and it's kind of
But
it's
Du got
buried.
angry,
It has a
Asa.
grave. Yeah, but it's fine. It's just that
That bird scares me.
yeah, exactly. I realized that I can use my time better, even though I kind of found a way how to study with Duolingo. But I just realized that with a busy schedule you get while you get older as well, and you get responsibilities, you have a family, and so on and so forth, you got to also change the way you learn, I guess, as it goes, because also your interest changes, at some point. And also, it depends on what there is in a certain language. Let's say I found this great podcast that I really like, a presenter in Italian. I may not be able to
Oh,
find the
I thought you were
same.
gonna say breakfast together.
Yeah, I'm listening to only our stuff while I'm not with you guys. That would be really
You
creepy.
record and you listen to it.
Yeah, that would be really creepy. But I do try to use my time a little bit more than just listen to my own stuff. But yes, I do listen a lot to our own stuff and watch my own YouTube videos. Guys, this is sick. Anyway,
And you notice all
This
of
is
the mistakes,
narcissism 101.
yeah.
and you notice all of
So,
the mistakes and make circles around them.
right? Mm, so anyway, different languages, as you guys said, like as a teacher, right, you also get to a resource that, for example, is structured in a way where it just pulls you in and you feel like, oh my god, this page or this resource is organized so well, it works for me so well, so you click to this, right? So you find yourself learning certain language in that manner, right? This is how my Turkish grammar kind of exploded, because back 15 years ago, I found this one page by an Englishman who created a very detailed Turkish grammar on a very, very outdated old school website. But guys, it was absolutely incredible. And all my Turkish grammar literally comes from that website. I think the website got deprecated,
Wow.
and I have never found that type of organized Turkish material again. I was advising a lot of other
Oh
people who are learning
no.
Turkish.
Now everyone will be asking us, what
I
is it?
know.
What is
It's
it? And
called
it's not
it was
there.
called Manisa Turkish, but it's gone now, guys. So you're not gonna be able to find it. But you can do Wayback Machine. This is
Ooh.
your awesome tool right there. Anyway, um, now, for example, I love a couple of podcasts, especially in Italian. I found some really suitable podcasts in Italian that I'm listening to while I'm doing some household chores, and I'm just enjoying, you know.
The true crime ones?
Of course, absolutely yes. And I don't know any of them, for example, in Spanish. So in Spanish, my tools are completely different. I use mostly books, and I actually mostly read in Spanish, which is crazy because I have one book I'm reading in Italian, and that's it. But in Spanish, it's pretty much based. And what's funny, I picked up a B2 book in Spanish when I was on A1 level. And you know what? It's not that bad. I don't know. It's not that bad. I didn't find it so dismotivating. But let's say if I pick up Japanese book right now and I
No,
try
man,
to
come on.
it's impossible. You know what I mean, guys? So I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's a whole diversity of things. It is definitely, again, maybe coming back to one traditional point, which is pen and paper. If I don't write things down, I don't remember. And you guys know yourself, I've been recently hooked up with Greek because I said I am a neighbor of Greece and I need
Yay.
to know how to read it. I can't read. I understand half of the alphabet, but the other half I can't read. So let me just at least crack that one.
The
So,
Fredo
as you
gang.
know, guys, exactly. As you know, guys, I am
Greek
occasionally
is
also bugging you.
contagious.
So your tools can be also your friends.
Once you go Greek, you never go back.
I don't know, but yeah, your tools
Yeah.
can be
That's so
people, and I
sweet.
guess this is where it all comes to.
Ah.
That Asia, that went from sweet
To
to
yeah. To
abusing, exploitation very fast.
As slavery finished some years back.
I feel
I don't
used,
know if you
Asia.
know. We
I don't
do
have
this
anything in my
completely
defense.
voluntarily.
Nothing.
But jokes aside, I wanted to tell you, us, and maybe to our dear listeners as well, a tip about funny Spanish resource. On YouTube, you can find the episodes of Caso Cerrado. If you all remember this clip, Buenas tardes, hello, good afternoon. No, no, ningún afternoon and ningún hello.
Ah, sí, sí, lo sé eso, sí,
Aquí se habla español.
sí, sí,
Yeah,
sí.
yeah, yeah. So this is, I think it's American produced series, but it's entirely in Spanish. It's like, the judge is there, and then they come
Yeah.
and they tell some kind of like trash story or a scandal. So the judge is Cuban, which just makes it like, automatically so interesting and funny. And yeah, so I guess that what you were saying, Telemachos, when you are on a certain level, like B1 plus, kind of, kind of there in the intermediate waters, you should try to go more for the native like resources, maybe away from the books. I know that there are books for B2 and C1, and like if you want to use them, cool, fine with me. But I also, as a former teacher, I highly recommend maybe some grammar supplement, here and there. But you should definitely go for the native material.
Hmm.
Native material can be so much fun. And yes, I know some people will tell me, but in my language, but it's not so easy. I get it. You just have to be creative. And I would like to add just like a quick comment from my side on books and courses. When I used to teach Norwegian, I mostly taught by from books that were written entirely in Norwegian. So in every single country, there are books like that. There are books for Spanish written in Spanish. I don't know, books for Japanese written in Japanese. Would that work? I don't know,
You have to learn
because
how to read
Nine.
first, I guess.
exactly. Yeah. So probably, but for most, let's just see like kind of easier languages, it works. Maybe with some little help or translations. So those local resources are cool. You should try to look for those in your chosen language. I also personally like the Teach Yourself series. It's available in many languages. That's such a great start. I learned Portuguese like that, Italian, many other languages, and also colloquial. It's not available in that many languages, but I think that those are amazing books. Colloquial Arabic, for instance, really, really good. So recommend. Um,
I think,
the-
especially mentioning the colloquial thing, I want to mention an unexpected weird resource I use for colloquial language, and that's Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts, I guess, probably since it's the same exact resource in the end. And I've been using it a lot for Brazilian Portuguese
Yeah,
because the problem with everyone who has tried to learn Brazilian Portuguese is
so
that
many
you
different.
have that textbook version and then the
Yeah,
slang and the
it's
Lagerias, and the slang is like a language on its own, and
yeah,
it's very difficult in any slang to find resources on exactly what they mean. For example, I'm also trying to learn some Cuban slang words, and
ya tú
there's you
sabes.
have to dig in forums and stuff. You cannot find almost anything. But yeah, so for example, in Portuguese, yeah, so there are some like reels, and it's just silly little like situations for people like do something, and it's good because it's simple, because it's like a short thing. You have the context because you even from the movement and everything else you can kind of guess what is it about even without knowing the language, and it is completely in like slang. So if you get to the level where you can actually understand that thing in the language you're learning, I mean, you're pretty good in your level of slang there. So that was I
For
was
some people,
surprised that
slang is the aim. I'm sorry.
yes, yes, and it's a problem with many languages. Most Greek speakers, for example, usually have this issue that they don't know any slang. So it's most languages sound very different with the slang or
Yeah,
without. So it's one of the most difficult things to get. I think if you don't live in a country, and I think that helps a
absolutely.
lot.
I've heard that Finnish, for example, the formal Finnish and the oral Finnish are like two completely
Really,
different languages. Yeah,
Finnish
like
out of all
yeah, people
languages.
yeah, people struggle. People go to courses, then they don't understand a thing because what's written in the textbook and how people talk are like different, completely different. This is what I've heard.
oh, one last thing to add here with the books, and something that I know that also Telemachos is using, and I start recently like also using and get into it is the assimil method, and I started using.
Yes, Sasimir. I wanted to
Yay!
mention
Eso
that
sí
Yeah,
too.
is
es.
the Russian course, and using the German version, so I can also practice at the same time German.
I like
So it's
Asimil.
my first time using it, and it's so far is pretty good. So thumbs up for this method. Is like have been using it for so long. I think like over than 30 years or 20 years. I'm not quite sure. It's like for long. And there's like especially a lot of courses in French that they teach other languages, but also in English, German, and Spanish, I think. And the other thing, one other something that also Asia mentioned is the new Penguin Russian course. It's similar. It's one of the best Russian
I've heard
grammar.
about it.
Yeah, really
I
grammar
learned
Russian.
Russian from there.
Like one of the really good grammar Russian books that I ever had is like I don't know when
Uh-huh.
was the was written in 1994, 96 or something like that, and it's like it has a lot of interesting grammar facts about the Russian language, and
Uh-huh.
definitely recommend that to anybody that wants to focus on grammar. It's not for learning the language itself, but it's for focusing on grammar aspects of the language. So yeah.
That's good. That's good. And actually, the one thing I really like about Asimil for Russian is that I was having a lot of trouble with the pronunciation of Russian because I think it's easy to get like 80-90% right, but it's difficult to nail down the exact pronunciation because there are like a bunch of rules that are half of them mentioned, half of them implied. It's really like a chaos of rules.
I have
If you read
a
any book
suggestion
for me,
to
well,
all those
Asimil solved
people.
it, so
I see,
for me,
but I
it's
have my
Asimil solved it
personal
because
suggestion. Not Asimir, but
okay,
Asya method. Almost the same.
Asyamil.
Asia
Asimil.
meal.
Exactly. Um,
Because the thing is that it has its own transcript just for it doesn't use the IPA, it just uses like a specific one for example, from German to Russian, it's used a specific transcript, and it helps a lot because it really spells out, for example, all the soft signs. Wherever a letter should be
Mm.
soft, it says it, and that solves a lot of questions I had in my mind about how it's pronounced.
yeah, I'm sure it's very helpful because
Um,
Russian is confusing that way.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think we can make another part three episode. Maybe it will happen as it happened with food episodes. So
But it's normal. We are polyglots. We all love learning languages.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think we've spoken enough. But
Yes.
frankly speaking,
Enough is enough. Enough resources.
yes,
All the
I'm
rest of the
sure,
resources are our own secrets.
yeah, I'm sure people can find something useful, hopefully, from all of these things that we've mentioned, because there were quite a lot. If I had to summarize the whole entire two episodes, it would be very difficult. But some of the things we've spoken about were Anki, flashcards, the Ole Richard and his storytelling method, right? The sticker notes, the assimilant method. What else was there? I think there was
The
much more.
courses, traditional
Courses,
courses.
traditional courses like
traditional
books
courses,
and
traditional books. Yeah, so
Journaling and
journaling,
reels.
podcasts,
You forgot
reels.
my reels method.
Exactly. So there is quite a lot, and definitely mixing and matching all of those, whatever you feel like, can all work. Just try. As they say, just do it.
And I mean, you have to like it in the end. If you like it, you're gonna keep doing it, and you're gonna keep
Yeah,
learning.
exactly.
I agree.
So
Okay. Yalla ya shabab.
See you in
exactly,
the next
exactly what
episode.
he said. See you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening.
Have a good one. Ciao.
Enjoy your Sunday.
Bye bye.